Give a writing update. Um, I mean, not really. I don't want to do anything. So I'll talk about that also. And I don't want to hold the phone this way. So, um, the latest idea I had about my story is that I'm excited about is the idea that tinnitus, which is something that I've experienced since my 20s. If you don't know what that is, it's constant high-pitched beep signal ringing in my ears 24/7. It's miserable. And it, like, I hear it now, just to explain, just to clarify. And so it requires distraction to get past. And that distraction can be noise, So if I have something else playing, then it'll be louder than the beep, the whine. But anyway, I've had this idea when it comes to the story that it could be signals that I'm receiving from outer space. So I'll explain. There are three settings. There are three place settings in my story. Planet A, Planet B, Planet C. Planet C is Earth, here where we are. The only part of the story that is meant, that I'm planning to have take place here is just how the writing of the story came to be. Because I want to pretend that the story is historically, accurate, that I'm receiving information from out there, the people that exist out there in the universe. Well, actually, let's be accurate. By the time the information reaches here, they don't. The people in the story don't exist. Their civilizations are probably gone, or, if you want to be optimistic, they've just changed drastically. But because I want to take a few realistic space facts into consideration, into whatever, not the word I was looking for. So there's not going to be any faster than light travel or communication in my story. The magic is the passage of long periods of time. So I was going to have radio waves and, like SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, like a NASA or government programs or science that's picking up radio waves or data, Morse code. I don't know. I was thinking, of different ways, but it's like, how does the information reach me and whatever. So just because I suffer from tinnitus, at some point, quietly in bed, it occurred to me that these could be transmissions, and it does change the I'll just say mood of the piece from science, technically accurate technology, military, government, official sourcing, to kind of mental illness, or, for someone to say, like, so the part on Planet C, Our Earth, is just how the book came to be. And to say that it's a record handed over by, government scientists is very different from saying that I received it inside my own head. But of course, I am receiving it inside my own head, so that's more accurate. It's not coming from signals in tinnitus, but maybe it is. I mean, So I'm going to play around with this idea for a while, and I kind of like it. So, and some of the thoughts that I've had is that, like, maybe I go somewhere and it's also emitting like white noise or something, like a waterfall or something that's, that's a screen or a mask. And that when I combine my frequency that I hear inside my head at all times with certain places, it decodes. But then the issue is it's alien, so it can't be English. It has to be, so how is it translated? So, maybe there doesn't need to be the screen of an outside screen, like a waterfall or a concert, or, whatever, feedback. Maybe it's just that after receiving these frequencies for 30 years, it eventually I notice patterns and I'm able to decode it into language. It's far-fetched, of course, but there can be all sorts of winks, or at least, it raises questions. Where does creativity come from? But the point that I want to serve is I want to establish within the world of the book that the stories are true. This is all maybe. You see, I'm not writing a book. I'm lying in bed. So now I want to talk about the joy of creation. I want to talk about inputs and outputs. So when I talked about the way of coping with tinnitus is to distract from it, is the way that I understand human existence generally. I feel happiest when I experience these rare levels of high functioning that permit silence, that permit me to enjoy silence, and that permit me to create. As bad as I'm doing physically right now, I am happy with the fact that in the past week or so, I've resumed listening to audiobooks and also having creative ideas of my own towards my own story. For me, from my experience, creativity comes from silence, comes from slowing down and having time. I mean, I think it's up in there, and you kind of have to let the inputs recede or quiet down, slow down, calm down in order for my own ideas to emerge. It's something that, like for instance, I'm streaming. I'd rather be on my own site. I don't like participating in hostile corporate environments. And I don't like the premise that, this doesn't suit my purpose. I use it to suit my purpose, which is just to record my thoughts and share them. But the purpose that this is designed for is a two-way communication or multi-party communication. I really struggle with community because I find it to be usually a negative distraction. So, as I say, in my experience, creativity comes from slowing down and silence. And so, when I watch typical streams, they're taking in inputs and putting out output, stacked on top of each other, like overlapping, with no stopping, no time to think. Just based on my own experience, that's not a thoughtful, careful way to be. In my experience, if I do that, I'm not actually thinking, I'm playing a role. That's the way I interpret most streamers. I feel like the role they're playing is cool guy. And if you are playing a role, then you don't have to think, because you know the kinds of responses you're going to give. So, you just, and I see this in politics, and I used to
worked somewhere that had CNN playing all the time, and those panels would just sit around, and whatever news floated by, of the day, they'd just rattle off about it, and they were like, the same 5 or 6 faces were on all the time. And the question I asked was, when do they think? When do they have time to think and learn and reflect? And I mean, I think we're living in a world that shows the answer to that question is never. So in that sense, I've learned to be grateful for being forced to slow down. I guess I would say first it was unpopularity, then mental illness, then financial ruin, and then currently physical debilitation. All these things have various times in my life pretty much sidelined me from normal patterns. And I feel that I make the most of it by having original creative thoughts and by being willing to learn from outside my immediate circle. Another thing I like to talk about is, I forget the name, I think it's a physics principle. It's like when a force, when something's being measured, it changes. The act of measuring changes what's being measured. This has something to do with subatomic particles. But I've been thinking about it for years in terms of things like stream of consciousness. When I was in school, there's a literary style called stream of consciousness. And I would read it and think, this is not stream of consciousness. This is an artificial presentation for, reading. This is kind of important, this theme, because this is also what I'm talking about in terms of how to do streams or videos, or just to be, how to present oneself to the world. Are you packaging it in a way that it's consumable, or are you not filtering? Are you just being true? Now, I fall for this, that I'm speaking as if it's a binary, and it can't be that simple. Sometimes maybe we're completely artificial, and I don't know when we're completely natural, but I mean, we're usually somewhere in a mix. And I really struggle with community. because my experience of community is as a distraction from meaning, what's meaningful to me. So there's a whole lot of things. I mean, like I'm so selfish that I only care about what's meaningful to me. I want to learn and absorb what's meaningful to others, or at the very least I have to if I want to coexist with others. I mean, these are difficulties in being human. I believe, I mean, these are my difficulties. I know others share them, but I also know that there are plenty of people who experience community more easily and more pleasurably than I do, more satisfactorily. Unfortunately, and is it just my attitude, or is it the people I'm around, or what is it? But unfortunately, my perspective on community is one in which people will pop up and want to veer away from meaning, and so that's rude. I'm learning to understand that. Number one, I just said a binary thing again, that people want to take me away from meaning. What people are into has meaning, so number one. But it's true that, so what I'm talking about here could be like the small talk type of thing, or if all I can think of are cliches, which is why I'm now drawn to writing fiction, because then I don't have to be accurate. But just say, like, if you or a character is concerned about the fate of the world, and then all their conversations are about fashion, it's disappointing. It feels like an unnecessary distraction. So before I started this recording, I was listening to an audiobook, which I'm enjoying. Service Model. It's funny. I've described it as Candide-esque. So, and then I have to go back a little bit. So I haven't really graduated or returned to the ability to slow down and actually read words on paper. But so for me, if I'm able to listen to an audiobook, that's an accomplishment, because for years, decades, I was not able to do it. I didn't have the focus. And when I feel, like a week ago, I was watching videos every waking moment. Videos offer, just by being audiovisual. I mean, it's like an extra layer of distraction. And I felt I needed it to get through the pain. And, or like people, like, whether you're feeling physical pain or not, I think people can relate. It's the same motivation that leads to, watching something on a TV while also scrolling the phone. It's stacking up inputs to achieve maximum distraction for whatever reason. And for me, I mean, it's not just physical pain. That's the state of the world and finances and emotional alienation and spiritual alienation, but the physical pain is the most immediate obstacle I have to I don't know, accomplishment and contentment. So, so a week ago I was just watching and I couldn't, I mean, the videos weren't really enough to satisfy my need for distraction. So I would watch and then stop and then watch a new one and then stop and then so compared to that, an audiobook is much slower and my brain has to be engaged. And it's difficult, but I find it rewarding. I'm just not always able to do it. So when I am able to do it, it's funny, I just thought about keeping my plant alive. Somehow that's related. It's slow thinking, but consistent, to be able to check on my plant every day kind of thing. And somehow audiobooks are are similar to me. But anyway, but my brain still wanders, and that's why during listening to the audiobook, I might have ideas about my own story. And I consider that win-win. I mean, that's great. Yeah, I might have to pause the audiobook, but then if I'm able to pause the audiobook and have total silence, except for tinnitus, while I go off into imagining my own story, I mean, that is like top tier. And it's definitely my favorite way to try to fall asleep, just telling myself my own story. Is the story ever going to be written? I don't know. But it serves one of my top priorities, which is mental pleasure, mental satisfaction. I guess if I had to rank things, it's like emotional, mental, physical, then social and financial. I mean, they're all interrelated, but it's like, how can I feel okay while not feeling okay? I don't know how many moments of function I'm going to have in this day. But if I can have story ideas while I'm lying here in pain, that's that's great, you know. If I sat and actually wrote, so like I've written very little of my story, and when I think about sitting down and writing, I it activates the same feeling in me about what I said about acting, about like not thinking in silence, but like playing a role. If my motivation is I've got to write this, then I feel I'm going to be taken over by a I don't know. I'll start following patterns. This kind of thing happens in a story. People talk like this. I've read this somewhere, or just I want to be cool. I want to produce something that's liked, you know. So many times I've written or spoken, and then afterwards I'm like, why did I say that, or why did I use that tone or that expression? Because it was somewhere programmed in me. And I didn't give myself time to think and express originality, or you know, I didn't give myself the space for original expression. So I'm enjoying the fact that my story ideas are coming to me mentally, not while I'm writing. And my boyfriend has said, you know, oh, you know, when you have an idea, write it down. And that's the way I used to look at it, which I understand, you know, which is like, you got to capture these ideas on paper, because the final form that I'm looking to produce is, I say paper, more like laptop. But anyway, the final words, the final form, you know, that I'm looking to produce is words, so that I can share it and maybe make a buck. But now when I have ideas, I don't feel like, ooh, I better, you know, I don't mean to put it on my boyfriend. This goes back to my childhood, you know, where I'd get up and keep a notebook next to the bed and write ideas, have a bedside table with a lamp. And then fast forward to making recordings on the phone. I mean, that's what I'm doing now, but I had to force myself to do it. I'm less driven in this way because a couple of reasons. One is I'm simply content to have the thoughts, so they don't have to be shared. The final form isn't necessarily words on a page to share. The final form is, or words at all. The final form is forget final form, but the to appreciate the reward of having the ideas. It's not for a means to an end. It's enjoying ideas. So that's enough already. And also, as I'm feeling this, I feel much less distracted. I feel much less threat that, oh, if I don't record it, I'm going to forget it. I know I'm not going to forget it. these ideas are great, and they're in me, and they're part of me, and they're evolving, and it's not about transcribing them or capturing them. It's about loving them and experiencing them. So, I do hope that I am able to put it all into a story someday, but I don't know. But also, I think of it as multiple stories. So I have ideas in one kind of setting or scene, and then I have ideas in another and another and another. And they don't always transition or coordinate very, very well or cohesively, coherently. And I'm not sure what to do with that. I could write multiple stories in the same universe. I could explain away the contradictions to having to do with translation or historical record keeping mistakes. I don't know, but I don't know. As I'm getting near the end of this, I just, to kind of reiterate about streaming and stuff, I'd like to be able to, I've got this project to learn to be myself and in community. I haven't, I don't usually have that experience. And I don't want to blame others or blame. I don't want it to be focused on blame. I want to think about it in terms of circumstances and alternatives and options, things like that. Routes, paths, coexistence. Okay. Memo to myself. I just heard a bird. Don't forget natural creatures in your worlds. In the book you're listening to now, there's only been some, like, crows. They didn't say crows. Birds, like scavenger birds. It was a good scene, but I want to have more than one mention of natural creatures. I don't know if I'll ever make it in Spanish, but one thing I love about I was listening to a video and they use the word flora and fauna, flora. there are words that we use in English, Romance language words, that in English are considered scientific or awkward, and they're not in the Romance languages where they come from. They're the word, and I appreciate that. Um, like some of the body terms that we use for, like, we think the words for parts of the body are awkward and foreign, but they're like the words. I'm not, I don't know why I tacked that onto the end. I was thinking of flora and fauna, and when I think of it, I'm hearing it in the videos I just watched, which, like I said, I tried to, if I remember correctly, it's like flora, fauna. I have to throw these things into my daily life because I'm very unhappy where I am, and I'm on a path out. I mean, I can't continue to stay here. A new owner will be here in weeks, and one of the things that I look forward to is living somewhere that's more integrated in terms of terminology, and I mean, just like the metric system. I mean, like, I'm so thrilled to live somewhere that's more rational, logical, helpful, hopeful. Sensible. It makes more sense. We'll see. I'm also scared and intimidated. Bye.